All right, so in this particular problem, okay, you have logs in every single term. So what I would do here is I would condense the two logs on the left side of the equation into a single log. So here you are subtracting logs. So if you want to condense logs, you take the log of the same base, which is base 10, the common log. And then you're going to condense each of these logs into one single log. Any factor that originated from a positive log becomes a factor of the numerator of your lone log. And then any factor here, x, that came from a negative log becomes a denominator in that fraction. And so the left side can be condensed, the right side stays as it is. And once you get that your equation is set as two logs are equivalent to each other, just equate the values inside the logs. So you get x plus 4 over x is equal to x plus 2. And then it's just a matter of solving this equation. So you can solve it by cross-multiplying here. You get x times x plus 2 is equal to 1 times x plus 4. If you expand what you have, x squared plus 2x, distribute your x through. Here, multiplying by 1 is just an identity, it's itself. And you have a quadratic equation with multiple variable terms, so we're going to move every term to one side and compare it to 0. So if we subtract an x from both sides, and then subtract a 4 from both sides, we get our quadratic form. And once you have your quadratic form, you now look to factor or solve for x any way that you can. If you can solve by factoring, you do that. Are there two factors of -4 whose sum is +1? No. So this isn't going to have binomial factors to it. So you either need to extract the square or rewrite by completing the square, or you need to use quadratic formula. Okay, so if I were to complete the square here, just to avoid taking out a calculator, okay, I add a 4 to both sides. Completing the square, we take half of our first degree term's coefficient, so half of 1 is 1/2, and we're going to square that, add it to both sides, so 1/2 squared is 1/4, okay, which means we can rewrite 4 in terms of fourths. 4 is 16/4. So you wind up with the binomial square x plus half of our first degree term's coefficient, so plus 1/2 is equal to 16/4 plus 1/4 gives you 17/4. Extract the square root, leaving x plus 1/2 is equal to the plus or minus of root 17 over 2. Subtract 1/2 from both sides, which I'll write in front of the plus minus. And so if I combine this all into one single fraction, I get -1 plus or minus root 17. And so this would be my exact answer. The answer that you need to test, it asks for a decimal form, so you are going to put this into decimal form. Now, even if you left it here as the exact answer, what you would need to do is make sure that none of the values that you enter would give you a negative inside your log. So here, when we took a -1 minus root 17 over 2 is going to give me a negative number. So I know that that's extraneous. I'm not even going to worry about testing that number. So here I'm just going to take the positive of it, divide by 2. I'm going to put a decimal in my display so the answer shows up in decimal form. And I get the 1.562 approximately. And so that would be my solution. Remember, the negative version of this, -1 minus root 17 over 2, that would give us a negative number right here. So it can't be used. It's extraneous.